Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe vom SI Talk Vancouver, September 2018. Neue Firma, nicht Rohstoff, nicht Cannabis. NexOptic is Paul McKenzie, is the president and CEO. CBO, what is this? CBO?
CBO, Chief Business Officer.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
It's the first time I heard this as a CBO.
Yeah.
So it's how I can. What a CBO do?
Well, Chief Business Officer is like a number of large corporations will have, like Google has a Chief Business Officer, and it's help steward and guide the company in financial transactions and things like that. I originally was the original CEO of the company, and I came across a group out of Alberta who had this remarkable ideas on how to make lenses and make much more efficient use of lenses. So when I say lenses, I'm talking about lenses in cameras, telescopes, binoculars, your cell phone lens, and so forth. So we worked out an arrangement. My company funded them for several years, millions of dollars, to a point, and then we acquired their company. That was part of our agreement. The gentleman that were behind that company then took over the senior management positions of this company, being the chairman and the CEO position. And so I'm still a very integral to the company, very involved in the company. My title is president and chief business officer.
Ah, okay. So and you said in your intro that you're, and this is also in the name Optik.
Correct.
So I saw yesterday the press release. So you're coming up with a product that has also, is this right, also artificial intelligence sometimes in there, or how does it work? So it sounds a little bit
sure.
innovative, I would say. So that how I can imagine what your product does.
Sure. So we are really our big advantage to any imaging system, anything that captures an image, anything with an image sensor and with a camera in it. Our big benefit to those systems is that we can significantly reduce the length of the lens stack and still harness significant amounts of light to get it to the image sensor to take a picture. So generally on a camera, and we've all seen these, maybe at a sporting event or something like that, at a football game, we're seeing these long lenses with the photographers on the sidelines. And why do they have those? Because they want to let a lot of light in, and they want to see as far away as they can in high resolution. Fantastic. I mean, photography is incredible, but it's impractical to have these big long lenses. And in the sports optics space, which is the product you're talking about, we're redesigning and redefining the binocular, the standard binocular. We're making it very different, and the reason we can do that is that we can crunch down the. We can get a 10 times zoom, for an example, in a much more compact space.
In which percentage we talk, what you can shrink?
It varies for a variety of reasons, but just to give an example, to answer that question, we built our first prototype we built was a telescope prototype. And so on a standard consumer telescope, one you can run down to the store, and telescopes run by a telescope, might be the length of my leg. We crushed it down to about the size of a small toaster. Okay. To a small kitchen appliance, and we had the same capacity, a 5-inch lens on an elongated telescope, or a 5-inch lens on a very. So our depth to aperture ratio was actually roughly 1:1, which was unprecedented. So it depends on the quality of the lenses. It varies. So in that particular application, it can be anywhere from 3 times as small, or it can be up to 8 times or even more small, depending on the telescope. So quite significant. So on a binocular system, would be significantly, more compact system. But what we've done to that device to change it, so binoculars really haven't changed for many years, and we're all familiar with this, and it's they're beautiful things, but they have their advantages and disadvantages. So what we're doing is we're taking that product and that idea of binoculars into the modern age. So we're adding a digital screen. We have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth capacity, image stability, GPS. We have sophisticated image stabilization, a myriad of other features and an immediate zoom. So it's a multi-lens system. So when I take a conventional elongated camera lens and I want to zoom in on something, we've all had the experience when you watch it zoom in. We just push a button and we go from 2.5 times zoom to 10 times within a fraction of a second. And so it's a very remarkable experience for the user. Now on to your question on artificial intelligence, what we've done is we've built into this system an encrypted chip sensor to download artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And as we get closer to commercializing and getting this product out in the stores, more and more artificial intelligence is being created all the time. Mm-hmm. And so we have the ability to download that into our product. So consumers in the future, when they have our product, will come with our set of features, and then in the future they can download additional, whether it's our artificial intelligence or from third parties.
Mm-hmm. Bring me to the point. You say when we start to commercialize this, the rollout, also when we can expect this?
We're planning to have this out and available for consumers to purchase in 2019, so next year. And in order to do that,
end of the year?
Yeah, it would be sort of mid to. It could be as early as mid, and then it could, might extend out, maybe sometime in the latter half, either mid-year or towards the end of the year.
And which market do you focus on it? The Canadian or what?
We want to go global with it because we think it has such broad appeal that the studies we've done, the analysis that we've done with people who currently use binoculars, seem to be very excited about this product and very much wanting to put it into use. So a lot of binoculars are used by birders, outdoor recreational people, boaters. Most boats over a certain size have a pair of binoculars. Hunters. There's significant markets. There's about $3.5 billion US dollars a year sold in binocular sales. But what we think is that this product is going to appeal to many more people, because you can take pictures, you can do video, you can sound record, and you can get a significant range of zoom, but immediately, and you'll be able to share that. Like, for example, if you and I right now, if you can imagine, we're at the top of a mountain looking at a view. Regularly, I'd have to pass you over my pair of binoculars, and then you'd have to try to find out or we both have our own pairs, and we try to find out what we're looking at. This way we could actually share it and see it. And with a push of a button, I can zoom right in on what is of real interest to me. So I can get a wider pan view or a very, very tight focus view, 10x, 10 times.
Marketing strategy.
Great question. So we are in discussions with a number of groups that have the capabilities to take products like these to market. We are also, and to your point of how are we going to get this to the consumers, we've done advanced engineering, advanced product development. We've utilized two key firms in the US who have made and created and engineered very sophisticated consumer and very successful consumer product designs, award-winning companies. And we're at the stage now where we're actually conversing with the companies that will manufacture. Mm-hmm. And so from there, it goes down to influencers and then distribution channels and direct sales and third party and so forth. And those discussions are ongoing with the company at the moment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now that's just one part of our company and our lens, because that's a segment of the market that we think is long overdue for a change. Very different. But we also have lens designs for multiple other purposes, and including the smartphone. And we recently, our latest lens prototype, we sent it to a third-party group in the eastern U.S. They're a leader in actually optical testing equipment. They sell their testing equipment around the world to optical companies to test their equipment. But they'll also test on your behalf. So it's a third-party test independent of ourselves. And we compared it with a leading, and I don't want to say the name of it, but we compared our lens to one of the top-ranked smartphone lenses on the market today. And we had a significant improvement in resolution. So it means that our specialty is really long distance viewing. And so we have a broader aperture, so a bigger opening to let more light in, but we can still keep that compact space. So we can see further and in higher resolution. So it's quite remarkable. So on a smartphone lens, in a smartphone camera, there's generally the trend is significantly moving to 3 lens stacks. So there's the one for the selfie, but there's 2 lenses facing forward, and what those do is they take the image simultaneously and then they blend them together with an image processing system. So ours would be the lens specifically designed to see further, because as remarkable as these devices are, they have some limitation when you're trying to see something very far away. And they also have some limitations if you're in a dark, there's not a lot of light. So because we have a bigger opening, a bigger aperture, we let a lot more light flood in, and we take advantage of that in a big way.
Do you in discussion with mobile phones?
Yeah, I can only say that we've generated significant interest, and because as a public company, undisclosed, I can't go other than that. But certainly, the fact that we were able to outperform and on the testing, on the bench testing of our device, that certainly has generated some interest and led to some discussions. Absolutely.
Other products are coming?
Well, what we want to do, we feel very confidently we can impact anything in the image industry. Now, the optics industry is growing at about 20% a year. It's a significant growth, and the reason being is we're using optics on our daily lives more and more and more. For example, as I said, on the smartphones, there used to just be 1 camera, now lens stacks, now there's 3. So that's a significant amount of more lenses needed. In your automobiles, we're now all familiar with, and if you have a relatively newer car, you're familiar with a reverse camera. That's just the beginning for the automobile industry, and that'll be standard in many countries. It'll be a requirement as a safety requirement to have that. But the automobile industry is going to significantly shift and change and expand on their use of lenses, and also in security systems. It's more and more that there's security cameras in public spaces and so forth, and they obviously want more sophistication to those. There's also we feel we can be applicable to satellites, to drones. And again, because we're going to have a more compacted system. Some of our lens designs actually have flat surfaces, and there's advantages to taking images with a flat surface as opposed to a curved lens. So there's a multitude of other industries that we're planning to get into, but as a small company, as an initial company, we want to get us across the finish line into commercial transactions. And so we're focusing on the 2 outlines that I mentioned. One is the sports optics, so a complete revolutionary shift to the binoculars, and the other is a smartphone lens, and then the others will come up behind.
Brings me to competitors. There's a lot of lens producers, some. I can imagine that they're not really happy with the
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, the interesting thing about the lens producers in the smartphone space, there's only a handful of companies that actually make them, and the volumes required to, as you can imagine, most people's cameras are in their phones. Not as the sales for standard DSLR cameras is declining, I think it's stabilized, but most people are using their phones for their camera. But so we can't do that ourselves. So it would be a licensing agreement with one of the big phone companies, would be our intention, or with one of the manufacturers of the handful of manufacturers that supply the phone companies. And so it would be a license arrangement. And the advantage to our lenses is that we're using the same materials. So we're not changing. We don't have very expensive or very rare or rare elements that are in our materials. It's basically standard optics. So it's either polymers or depending on the application. So standard optical glass or polymers. So they can easily pivot and create our lens. So it's not complicated.
Do you have this kind of lens a patent on it so that?
Yeah, terrific question. So we have 2 incredibly smart and experienced patent attorneys in the United States. One in the Los Angeles area and the other in Silicon Valley, and we're patented on. We've received our first patent application. We received a patent, very broad, for the telescope design I mentioned, where we completely crush the lens stack, and that contains flat surfaces. We have that patented, and now we're going global with that patent, and We are patent pending on several others. I don't know the exact number at the moment. We're frequently and regularly applying for patents through these two lawyers who are very sophisticated in guiding us along this. And then also with a global patent strategy to follow.
One question also to the shareholder structure and so on. Mm-hmm. So how many shares are outstanding?
Sure.
Biggest groups?
Sure, yeah, okay. So we have about approximately 130 million shares out. The significant amount of that is controlled by insiders. So we own as a group, and the gentleman I mentioned who were the founders of the technology and who are now chairman and CEO of the company, collectively, them and myself and some of our other directors, we own close to almost 40% of the company. Mm-hmm. So that's significant, and we're certainly not, we've been loyal shareholders from day one. Outside of that, we have some very strong support from financial institutions in Canada who have backed us. So two of the the leading independent brokerage firms with offices in some cases globally, internationally, they've been our investment bankers and our supporters. We have a lot of U.S. shareholders. We also trade, so in addition to trading in Germany on the Frankfurt, we trade in Canada, and then we trade on the OTCQX, which is the highest tier of the U.S. markets, unless you want to move to NASDAQ or New York. And so it's the same. There's stringent requirements to be able to trade on that platform, which obviously we've met because we trade there. And so we have a very global shareholder base and loyal, and we have a number of German investors, actually, quite a few.
Paul, I think this is an interesting introduction. I'm really would be really happy when I come back next time to Vancouver, or in 6 months, 9 months to can do another interview. Then it sounds very interesting. I think that the point is really to roll out the product. Mm-hmm. This is a very important point, and the positive gift can be the smartphone lenses. Then this can be huge.
Significant. Yeah,
das can be really huge.
Ja.
Ja, das war jetzt ein Startinterview von NexOptic. Paul McKenzie ist der Chief Business Officer und Präsident. Erst einmal, dass ich einen Chief Business Officer kennenlerne. So it's my first time I say this in German, that I learn our Chief Business Officer. It's the first time. Aber was ich gesagt habe, ist wirklich extrem spannend. Also es geht um Linsen. Also als erstes einmal um Ferngläser, die sie jetzt auf den Markt bringen wollen. Bei Ferngläsern ist es ja so, dass in den letzten Jahrzehnten keine Entwicklung dort war. Das wird jetzt quasi digitalisiert. Und sie haben geschafft, und eine Spezialität ist, dass sie die Linse geschrumpft haben. Also nicht geschrumpft die Linse selber, sondern das, was man braucht, um ein großes Zoom zu erstellen. Er hat das verglichen ja bei den Sportevents, das sieht man es ganz gut, wenn die Leute dort sind mit ihrer Kamera und mit solchen großen Optik drauf, dass die ja extrem groß sind. Und sie haben das teilweise im Verhältnis also ein Drittel bzw. ein Achtel davon können sie schrumpfen. Und genau dasselbe ist sozusagen bei einem Fernglas. Das ist nicht nur geschrumpft, Sie können automatisch umschalten von einem 2,5-fach Zoom auf ein 10-fach Zoom zum Beispiel, oder dass ein Bildschirm dabei ist, dass ein Foto geschossen werden kann. Man kann Soundaufnahmen machen, man kann Video drehen, man kann das auch einstellen, dass man zum Beispiel das, was der eine gesehen hat, sozusagen macht man jetzt ein Foto, der schaut sich das dann am anderen am Bildschirm an. Also klingt logisch, denn eigentlich hat sich beim Fernglas nicht wirklich viel getan. Was mich ein bisschen verwundert hat, ist, der Marktgröße, ich glaube, er hat 3,8 Milliarden wird da im Jahr umgesetzt. You say 3.8 billion was the revenue in
binocular sales for the US
market. Only for the US market?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Also nur der amerikanische Markt hat 3,8 Milliarden gehabt. Das ist unglaublich, denn also Ferngläser werden sehr viel auch bei der Jagd natürlich verwendet, allerdings auch, wenn man unterwegs ist, Vogelkunde, bei den Schiffen, bei den kleinen Booten und. Also der Markt ist sicher da und das Produkt wird nächstes Jahr am Markt eingeführt. Das könnte wirklich eine Revolution auslösen. Für mich ist es eine Marketingfrage, wie kann ich dieses Produkt, wenn es wirklich so gut ist, und scheinbar gibt es da externe Tests, die es dementsprechend bestätigt haben, wenn das wirklich so gut ist, dann ist das Frage der Marketingstrategie und wie kann ich das dementsprechend am Markt bringen. Aber der Markt scheint, wenn das allein in Amerika so ist, riesengroß zu sein und das könnte eine riesengroße Revolution sein. Die größere Revolution ist sicher im Smartphone-Sektor. Dadurch, dass sie so wenig Platz brauchen, sind sie natürlich auch besser geeignet, um im ganzen Smartphone-Bereich, im Zoom-Bereich eingesetzt zu werden. Und dort könnte dann die riesengroße Revolution anstehen. Ich habe auch gefragt, wie schaut es mit der Konkurrenz an? Er sagt, natürlich ist so, sie können das teilweise gar nicht produzieren. Das heißt, es rennt dann auf einen License-Deal zu mit irgendeinem von diesen Linsenherstellern, weil es hängt weniger an dem Produkt selber, als dass es jetzt irgendwelche komisches Material verwendet wird, sondern das kann man mit Standardmaterial für Linsen durchaus machen und dadurch ist jeder Linsenproduzent quasi ein potenzieller Lizenznehmer und über das soll es dementsprechend laufen. Unglaubliches Potenzial. Für mich steht die Frage, wie schaut die Rollout-Strategie aus, wie kann man das marketingmäßig umsetzen, werden wir nächstes Jahr erleben. Einführung soll Mitte bis Ende nächsten Jahres sein und Smartphone-Markt kann natürlich jederzeit durch die Decke gehen. Das war es vom NexOptic im September 2018 Vancouver. Tschüss und Baba. Thank you for your time.
Dankeschön.